cricket coverage on
Wait,
What?
Sports.
Sports. You just did that because we annoyed you already.
I'm already there. I'm sorry.
You were there the first time. This is just like the finale.
Eli loves us.
Absolutely. How could he not? Who wouldn't love us?
Which, by the way, I'm Amy.
I'm Gina.
Dr. Robinson.
Try that again. I'm Gina.
I'm Amy.
Dr. Robinson.
Okay, Eeyore. Now you're just doing it to be petty. That's why you're laughing. Anyway, welcome back. So we decided that we were going to break this into two parts because it was just, it's a lot. Cricket is a lot.
It is. And we got, I will say, probably about 75% of the way through what
Facts.
we got.
I think that's true. I think that's true.
But it was just like one of those things where it's like, oh my God, there's still more.
We need to like break this up. Into more like, because the conversation we had before was like, how do we break this into manageable chunks that won't overwhelm our delicate brains and our American understanding of sports compared to the British understanding of sports?
Well, and
Or at least the way these two sports compare with baseball and
compared to
cricket.
what we know.
Right. And
That's
even
really
just
what
some
it
of the
is.
terminology about our understanding of what an inning is and innings and how it can apply in multiple situations in Britain with cricket, and it only applies in one specific situation with American baseball.
Yeah, it's an interesting linguistic thing, I think, more than anything.
It makes sense to me why people say English. American English is one of the hardest languages to learn because we have so many interchangeable terms and
Well,
the way
and-
we use certain things and
American English has a lot of words from other languages that
Mixed
have melted
into it.
in.
Yeah.
So,
we are truly the melting
and
pot.
then we try to make other language words fit into our current language rules, and yeah.
It just complicates things. Anyway, today is going to be all about trying to get into the details of scoring in cricket, as well as, if we have time, which I think we will, talk about a little bit of the background of cricket, because it is very interesting.
So we left off with just doing a basic of how you can be out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as we said, there's running the fielder out,
Right.
or running the batter out. That's when the fielder catches the ground ball. So you've hit the ball and it hit the ground and rolled. The fielder goes after the ground ball, throws it at the wicket,
Ah.
and knocks down the wicket.
See, in my head, the moment you say throwback, I'm like, somebody's about to catch it.
So they could, depending on how far the ball was away,
Yeah.
they might throw it to the bowler.
And then
who's
the bowler
going
tries to-
try to throw it at the wicket. But in our head,
Mm-hmm.
when you are run out, literally somebody's chasing you down the
trying to
line
tag you.
and trying to tag you.
Right.
Right? But they are, again, for them, the person is not necessarily the object.
It's the wicket.
The wicket is the object.
So, okay, we didn't talk about this in the first episode, but the fielders, do they have gloves?
No.
Really?
Yep.
So they're just barehanding that bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess those balls still probably come really, really fast and really, really hard. But
Which is
because
why
you're
they
not,
don't generally get a lot of caught outs.
yeah, I can't imagine I would sacrificially put my hand out there
So
for that.
a run out, a leg out, and just a bowled out are your most common outs.
Okay, that makes sense.
A caught out is if a member of the fielding team catches a ball before it hits the ground. It says here it's a common type of out, but
I question that. I question the legitimacy of that statement.
According to everything I read, they're not wearing gloves, and if they are,
It's probably
they're
just
not
like
baseball gloves.
it's not padded. It's probably just a
They're more
basic
like
batter's
football
glove almost.
gloves.
Looks like, yeah, that's a good equivalent. Just enough to give them some traction or something to actually hold on to it when they catch it.
If the fielder who catches the ball steps over the boundary line at the edge of the field, though, the batsman scores 6 runs.
So wherever that boundary line is determined to be, because we talked about in the first episode, there's no specific shape of the field.
Right.
The boundary line just has to be
Well
denoted with a
marked.
string or marked with a chalk on the ground or
It
whatever.
has to be well marked.
Yeah.
So if the fielder catches the ball, steps over the boundary line, or catches a ball out of bounds, Then the runner gets 6 automatic points.
Okay. Got it.
So remember when we were talking about handling the balls? I have to say it that way just because I got to get the reaction.
She looked
face from
directly at
Eli.
you when she said that, Doc. Sorry.
If the batsman touches the ball with any hand not already holding the bat,
Mm-hmm.
they are taken out for handling the ball.
Oh, so like they can't catch the ball.
Unless the fielding team has given them permission to touch the ball first. So say the ball is pitched, it kind of hits the ground and it doesn't really bounce back up and it just rolls to the batter's feet.
Got it. Okay.
He can't pick it up and throw it back
Until they say
the pitching team says, yeah, you can throw that back to us.
So, okay, I can picture that as a way to be really petty. Like, I'm just trying to help because I want to keep the gameplay going. But if they're like, we're going to wait 5 minutes.
So the rule does not apply to getting hit by a ball or any other kind of accidental touching of the ball.
Okay. But if you intentionally reach down, pick up that ball, and for any reason without the express permission of the team that's pitching, that's automatically 6 points.
No, that's automatically out.
Oh, out. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay.
When a batsman tries to use their bat or body to swat away a ball already in play, usually in defense of their wicket, or interferes with the efforts of the fielding team to get the ball back to the pitch and get an out, they are taken out for obstructing the field.
Wait, say that again?
So, this is close to... Okay, so the one thing we didn't talk about that was in the show, as far as the runs and the scores.
Uh-huh.
Unlike baseball, in cricket, you don't put your bat down. You have to carry your bat
right.
back and forth with you. Okay?
And those bats do not look light.
So you are running with all of your pads and your bat back and forth. And the non-striker has a bat with him, too, because if he winds up
On the striking
side, he becomes the striker. If you are running back and forth and you see somebody trying to throw the ball at your wicket, you can't put the bat up. You can't block your body to block the ball from hitting the wicket.
Really? So all your main focus is just running at that point?
Well, the one exception is so that when you are running, you can try to run to make sure that you're in between fielders so that they don't have an easy throw to each other.
Okay.
But you can't, throw your bat up to block the ball as it's coming towards you.
Ah, okay, I got you. That's interesting.
It would be like goaltending in hockey.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you just kind of have to watch it happen.
Yeah. Because if you do that and you block the ball, then you're automatically out for obstructing anyways.
Right. That one took a second to catch, but I'm with you now.
So this is one that was weird. The striker hitting the ball twice.
Yeah, explain this to me, because I'm... how do you double... do you tap it on the ground and... The only way I can see that is if, it rolls on the ground and it bounces, and it's not enough of a hit to really get it anywhere, you hit it again?
So hitting the ball twice to confound fielders or attempt a better score is strictly prohibited. So, say you hit the ball and it goes more of like a pop-up fly. Right? Almost straight up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hit it again to get it further away from you.
So, okay, it's like if it came back down, you can't hit it again and knock it further out. It just comes straight back down. Okay. What is that called again?
It's just an out, but you will be called out for double hit.
Double hit, okay.
It doesn't have an official term, but that's what I'm calling it.
Oh, it's the closest thing.
And then, again, the timed out. So that when you don't arrive on the field within your allotted time,
yeah,
you are automatically out.
And that's just, and let's expressly say that when you're out, it's just for that innings that you're in. You're not out for the whole game. It's not like you fouled out the game. You're just out for that innings that your team.
It's like a baseball out.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly.
So, those are kind of the basic outs.
The double hit one is just trippy to me.
And like I said, I was on like the international cricket site, and they had like all the umpire calls and their hand signals and everything, and I was like, oh my god, there's like 40 million umpire signals. And more than half of them were outs of some sort.
That rule book has to be super long.
But mainly it's because, like, for the scorecard, for statistical reasons, each type of out, each type of play has to have their own hand signal so that statistics can be kept correctly.
And it's very much where it's similar to baseball in that way, too, because it is a very tactical sport. And when in the one Wikipedia article I was reading, they very much keep emphasizing it's tactical. Like the bowler and the forgot who else can make changes, but a lot of it is the batting order and all that is it's very much like baseball in that fact. It's very well thought out. It's all based on statistics, and it's complicated. Like there's formulas to some of the scoring even that they work out.
Right. Well, because as we talk about these ways to get extra runs, and things like that, there are notes in here about like what this means towards a bowler's over.
Had to think about it. My brain is still
like, okay. Again, these are how they get extra runs.
Okay.
There's a call called no ball.
I saw that.
Eli, any guesses?
No.
It's an illegal pitch.
Okay.
So after a call of no ball or an illegal pitch, a batsman can only be out by run out,
Okay.
handling the ball, obstructing the field, or hitting the ball twice.
So at that point, it's on the batter to do something.
Stupid. Yes.
I mean, it is what it is, but that just tickled me. Okay, go ahead.
Runs scored on a call of no ball are considered extra. And every no ball that a bowler throws must be compensated with another bowl in the same over. Which means that, as we talked about, the overs were only 6 pitches.
Right.
But if an umpire says that's an illegal pitch, you have to still get 6 official pitches.
So let's say it's almost like unlimited foul balls until you get 6 good pitches. Okay.
It's kind of like, so it's kind of like, if a baseball player is fouling, once they're to the 3-2 count,
right,
they can continue to foul until they either hit or they strike out.
Right.
So it's kind of like that as far as like the bowler has to continue to pitch until they get to 6 actual pitches.
Now, is this the same batter? I'm assuming yes, because they haven't gotten.
I mean, yes. So if it's a no ball and the batters have decided to go for runs,
right,
it might be a different batter.
Okay.
But,
okay. Well, yeah, because they might have switched places because of how it worked. Okay, got it.
If no runs are scored on a no ball, 1 run is added to the batting team's score anyways.
So they get 1 no matter what.
Right. There's at least 1 point on a no ball, but if like it was an illegal pitch that happened to get hit, they could still run back and forth.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
When a bowler bowls wide, the team automatically scores 1 run.
Okay. All right.
And again, the bowler must make up that pitch with a good pitch.
Got it.
If the striker tries to hit the ball but misses, and the wicketkeeper doesn't manage to catch it, batsmen can try to score runs on this play. There's a special name for them.
It's going to be something ridiculous, isn't it?
This one's actually kind of tame.
What is it?
It's a bye.
Huh, that is pretty tame.
So it's called a bye because basically you got the ball
by the wicket.
The wicket keeper.
Okay, when you put it like that, it's like, okay, logic. How rare is that, though? Like, But just looking at when I post a picture, you guys know what I'm talking about, but just looking at the way that it's set up, like I can't imagine it happens very often.
A leg bye occurs when the striker tries to hit the ball with their bat, but instead hits with
Their leg.
leg byes otherwise function identically to byes, and they can try to score if they want to.
So that can imagine that's like an accidental thing, like just the way the ball came. My leg just happened to be what was right there. It's not like I intentionally stuck my leg out.
Usually, okay, so anything where they say with a bye is anything that you swung at and you missed.
Okay. That answers your question from earlier. What happens when you swing and you miss?
So that would be like you tried to hit the ball, you missed it. If it gets past the wicket keeper, that's a bye.
Got it.
If you swing and you miss it, and it doesn't, it hits your leg instead of the wicket, then it's called a leg bye.
Okay. Okay.
So really, the biggest extra runs are part of the fielding.
Yeah, I can see
Again,
that.
If a ball is hit out of the field on a fly, or a player the fielder catches the ball and then steps out of bounds,
Right.
you get those 6 automatic runs.
Okay. So whether it's
If the-
caught or they step out of bounds with it after they catch it.
Right, and if the ball hits the ground first and then goes out of bounds,
Okay.
you get 4 runs.
Okay, so 6 if they catch it, 6 if they catch it and go out of bounds, 4 if it rolls and then goes out of bounds.
Right. 6 if it goes out of bounds. 6 if they catch it out of bounds or they catch it and then go out of bounds.
Right.
And then 4 if it bounces before it goes out of bounds.
Okay.
So, if they catch it and it's inbounds, you don't get any runs.
Right. Are you out at that point?
Yes, it's caught out.
That's what I thought. Okay. Boom. I'm just trying to tie it all together so that way I can get the system. Okay. I got it.
So, the way that you get a no ball most often as the bowler is by stepping over
The crease.
the popping crease.
I wanted to call it the pitching crease, and I was like, that's not right.
No. The bowling crease is where they have to stand behind before they start. So if you think about it, in like bowling here in the U.S., you have a spot where you normally start,
Right.
And then you have that
Strike line
that you can't go beyond with your foot.
The foul line.
Right, the foul line.
Got it.
The batting line, the batting line or the popping crease is the line that you can't go beyond as you're throwing.
Okay.
But you start at the pitching or the bowling line.
So, if you're a bowler, because I saw in the article I was reading that some of them actually get a run up depending on the kind of pitch that they're throwing. So you
as long as you start behind
okay, that's what I wanted to
the
know.
bowling line,
Yeah.
you have to stop before the popping line.
Got it. So it doesn't matter how far back you are to get that wind up for your pitch.
No, they do like you to not be off the actual pitch.
That's fair. But I mean, you have a little bit more wiggle room
Yeah.
than somebody who's like, you have to stay at this little spot and just fling it from there.
Yep.
Okay.
So the fastest bowls go around 90 miles per hour, which is similar to a fastball in baseball. Given the fact that the distance from the mound to home plate is 60 feet? 65 feet?
Go ahead, Dr. Robinson. You're supposed to know this stuff.
You are correct. It's 60 feet.
So it's about the same for the pitch of cricket. So they're all like, oh, well, the short length of the pitch. And I'm like, but wait, home plate to pitcher's mound is like 60 feet.
Right.
And the whole pitch
It's 60
is
feet.
66 feet.
So you only get like 6 feet difference.
And more than likely, that's taken up by the batting box on
Right.
each end. So you're still looking at about 60 feet.
So, okay, here's a question when it comes to, because now that I think about it, maybe catching won't be so bad because pretty much everything that hit is going to be a pop-up. It's not going to be like necessarily like a line drive.
Yeah.
Because you're not swinging over your shoulder. You're
No,
hitting from the ground up. Okay, so maybe catching it wouldn't be as bad as like if you're in baseball and you're catching a line drive with your bare hand or, with your face.
The bowl must reach the striker at or below the waist.
Okay, makes sense. Like it's like underhand softball.
If it's higher or it sails out past the sides of the pitch, it is called a wide ball or a no ball, especially in cases where the ball isn't far from the striker but is too high to hit. So you get a no ball if you step past the foul line, basically the popping crease.
Okay.
And if you your pitch goes too high in front of the batter, so if it's over their waist.
Right, which makes sense because, again, you're swinging from the ground up. All right. Or you said if it goes too wide, right?
So
in that case, it's very similar to I guess it'd be slow pitch. Well, not slow pitch, but just underhand softball.
So the last section that they have here is about hitting the ball and running.
Okay.
They do say that there are many different ways to strike the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You must strike the ball with the flat edge of the bat. If you strike the ball with the curved side of the bat, it is an out.
Does that happen often? Like, which side is which.
My guess is that it doesn't happen much outside of children's play.
I wouldn't think so. Like,
But,
you can clearly tell.
This article is very much for, like, the people who don't really play and how to set up your own game.
Right.
Okay? But there are different angles and ways to hold the bat. You can hit with anything except for the curved side of the bat. You can, the one side I was looking at had all sorts of tips on how to, like, pull your hits and how to push them and how to, so just like in baseball where you have a pulled hit.
I don't know what that is.
So if you're a batter in
Don't
baseball,
roll your eyes. You know who you're talking to. I don't know why you would think I would know something that specific.
I didn't really roll my eyes. I kind of looked at Eli like, really? So if you're in baseball and you are pulling a pitch, okay, when you are a pull hitter, you are hitting out into whatever side of the field you're batting from. Basically.
So if you're a right-hander pitch
So if you're
batter,
a right-hitting batter, you're actually going to be hitting to
the left
field.
Left field.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you're a lefty, you are pulling into right field.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Cricket, because they don't really stand the same way that we do, it's a more flat game.
Mm-hmm.
So they are slightly sideways, but
Yeah.
they're not hitting above the shoulder, so it's not, quite the same. But the way you hold the flat edge of the bat determines it's kind of a little bit like pool, like determining angles and stuff.
Okay.
Determines whether you're pulling or pushing or whatever.
That makes me think of golf, like where you hit the ball with your club depends on how the ball reacts. Okay, got it.
So batsmen do not have to run when they hit the ball.
You don't?
As long as they stay behind their popping lines, they are safe from outs.
So is that like a scenario where like, oh, that's coming back and I'm not going to get much out of this? Might as well just stay here. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay.
So it's kind of like when you've got that runner on first and he's like,
I'm not going anywhere.
Non-strikers don't have to stay behind the crease line while they are waiting for a pitch. In fact, non-strikers have been known to move up along the pitch line, much in the same way that runners in baseball steal bases.
I was just thinking that. I was like, oh, it's like a leadoff. Okay.
The bowler
can tag him.
Can knock your wicket if you're not paying attention. If you're over that line.
So, okay.
And the bowler is, let's say, behind you. So
right. So guess what's going to happen?
You have to pay a lot of attention. It's not like the pitcher's mound where if you're stealing a base, you're behind the pitcher.
Right.
No. The bowler is behind you.
So it's almost like if the bases were in front of the pitcher and the pitcher was like, just tag you out right now. Like, why would I wait?
And so the wicket is in between you and the bowler.
Okay.
Okay. So unless you start moving up while they are mid-swing and they are not good enough to be able to stop,
they can just go.
they can go poink off to your wicket.
So, okay, as a non-striker, and you might not know this might be a higher level question, but I wonder, as a non-striker, can you protect that other wicket? Like, is that your kind of job? Or
Nope,
it just happens?
That will get you a body out, remember? You can't put yourself between.
See, but I didn't know if that applied to
As
just the
long as
person
you
that
are
was
behind the crease,
okay.
you can't be out. So if you're not creeping up the pitch,
Right.
the bowler can't get you out anyways.
Okay. Well, that's why I was asking. Like, as long as I don't cross that crease, I'm pretty much I can't get out for like keeping him from knocking over my wicket because I'm not technically in play.
Right. Well, you can't. He's not going to try to knock over your
Because I'm
wicket
standing there.
because you're standing in bounds.
Got it.
The moment you cross that line,
You
are now able to be knocked out by your wicket.
got it. Okay. All right.
Because
I'm with
remember,
it. I'm with it.
It's not baseball. We don't tag the runners. We tag the wickets.
Got it. See, that's where I have to keep reminding myself, like, even though there's parallels, it's not the same game. Which, again, when we first started talking about this, I was like, it's British baseball.
So, batsmen who successfully score a run can turn around immediately and try to score another run.
As long as you cross that popping line.
Right. It does say it's very rare to do more than 4 runs in a bat. So, you bat, you hit the ball, you start your runs. It's very rare that you cross back and forth more than 4 times.
I mean, that makes sense because that's still a little bit of a distance to run, especially if you have to hold onto your bat and you're wearing all your equipment.
And you've got all the pads, and yeah.
Yeah, that's like
Which,
a
by the
hockey
way,
player running.
The pads they have are like hockey pads. They've got massive shin pads up to the knee. The gloves are padded like a goalie's glove.
Yeah.
They are just massive. So
I can't even imagine like running with all of that and still having. It's like if I was a hockey player, like at least they have ice to glide onto, but like you have to worry about traction, slipping, all that stuff.
right. So before we do anything else, I'm going to get out some of my list of funny terminology from cricket.
About to get real British right now. Let's go. The accent might be coming back.
I'm not going to do, again, too much of the pitches because I don't understand what the differences between the pitches are. But I will say there are some really funny names for some of the pitches.
Okay, let's go. I'm ready.
So I'm just going to give you a couple of pitch names. Again, I'm not going to try to explain them. But there is a pitch called a googly.
Good googly boogly.
There's a pitch called a zooter.
Okay. Zoota.
That's kind of like a breaking ball. It's a pitch which, quote, skids through low and quick.
Okay.
So it comes in real low.
Oh, okay.
There's a yorker.
A yorker.
And it's a fully pitched ball aimed at the batsman's toes or the crease line.
The hell? Aimed at his toes.
Or the crease line.
Okay. Sure.
So some of the others.
His toes. Sorry.
Some of the other terminologies that aren't pitchers or aren't pitches. A bunny.
Please explain this. I was like a hop bunny? Like Bunny?
It is Bunny. But any guesses as to what a bunny might be, Eli?
Something that involves jumping?
I'm completely lost right now.
Okay, I will equate it to American baseball.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You know your batting lineup? Like, you want your first batter to be fairly decent because you want him to get on base and whatever. And then you kind of hide your not-so-great batters someplace in the middle of the lineup. Your bunny would be your middle of your lineup guy.
Oh, no, he's called a bunny.
He's a lower-order batsman who is easy to dismiss.
Oh, that's so rude.
He's a bunny.
He's a cute little fluffy bunny. Like you noticed the bunny, but if he wasn't there, you wouldn't miss him. I'm like, oh.
Okay. If a player yells out, "How's that?"
Was that a good hit?
Now,
how's that?
how's that?
How's that?
If you were out in the field and you were trying to convince the umpire that the wicket had been hit, or possibly you're on your bench and you're trying to convince the umpire that your wicket had not been hit,
How's that?
you'd be screaming into the umpire, "How's that?"
They really made a term for that.
Well, it's kind of like, our fans yelling at our umpires, "Are you blind?"
Those were 3 separate words. Are you blind? How's that? They
Combined how and
that.
is that.
Exactly.
How is that into one word?
How's that? That is so lazy. It's too much to say. How is that?
Well, not only that, but then try to do it with a British accent. Anyways.
How is that? Oh yeah, I can't do it.
How's that?
How's that? Yeah, I can't do that. I don't know what accent that just was.
Jaffa.
Jaffa. That sounds very African.
It actually sounds very Indian to me.
Jaffa.
It's an unplayable ball.
Okay. Like a no ball?
No, it's just unplayable. So, it bounced in the dirt 3 times before it hit you.
Okay.
As the hitter.
Got it. Okay. Jaffa. You have to say it like that from now on. Jaffa.
Okay, so this is a variable term. A quack or duck.
Quack or duck. Okay.
It's when a batsman is dismissed without scoring. You're a duck.
So you're a bunny if you're disposable.
If you are easily dispatched,
you're a bunny.
You're a bunny.
And if
you come up to bat and you're out without ever swinging or scoring, you're a duck.
You're a duck. You know what that reminds me of? Remember on Friends, how Joey and Chandler had the duck and the chicken? I don't know why that made me think of that. Who's the chicken?
Waft.
I'm assuming that has something to do with the ball floating through the air. But that's just because of my understanding of a waft.
Eli?
Waft.
I don't know. Whiff? Or...
So I was going to say, what do you call it when what are slang terms for when a batter in baseball swings and misses?
A whiff.
Oh, so it's called a waft.
It's a waft.
You have to, I feel like that's a term.
It's an unconvincing shot where the batsman waves the bat towards the ball without making any contact.
A strike.
He waved the bat towards the ball in an unconvincing manner.
Or as Dan Patrick would say, the whiff.
Yeah, so that's a waft.
A
He was
waft.
just wafting the air with his bat.
Waft. I feel like you have to say it really soft.
Well, it's kind of like, okay, so when you smell something funny in the air, you waft your nose with paper or whatever.
In case you guys didn't know that was a real term.
So, yes, you
didn't know.
Wafting your bat towards the ball, but it doesn't look like you actually want to hit it.
So if we ever make it to a baseball game this season, I'm going to sit there in the stands and be like, did you guys see him waft that bat? And they're going to be like, what?
Yeah, I'm going to say, I don't know this lady.
And I'm going to be like, don't say that, husband.
And Eli would be like, yeah, anybody have a straight jacket?
Anybody want to change seats? Anybody? I'll sit in the nosebleeds.
So one of the really interesting things is that cricket is actually played in more parts of the world than baseball is.
Which is weird to me.
And yet baseball is in the Olympics and cricket is not.
And we sat here and was like, why? Like, we really tried to decipher, what was the reasoning behind it? If it's such a popular sport, and like I told Amy and Dr. Robinson off air, I was like, I feel like the Olympics is like the upper echelon. When a sport is considered an Olympic sport, you know you're legitimately a sport. And the cricket's like, psh, so. Who cares? It's just the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, So it's just still a crazy thing to me that it could be played so many places and not make it to an Olympic game. And now we will be eventually talking about how sports become Olympic sports and all the steps they have to go to in order to become an Olympic sport.
It's a very convoluted process.
But and I apologize, I'm pausing here for a second because I just thought to look up when baseball officially became an Olympic sport.
Would you say it's within the last...
I think it was the 92 Olympics.
I was going to ask, like, 20 years, 30 years?
I remember there being Summer Olympics where they didn't play baseball.
Okay.
And looking at this, it looks like in 86 it was determined they would be at the 92 Olympics.
Oh, wow. Okay. Goes back a lot further than I thought.
So, yes, but I can still remember a time without baseball in the Olympics. You young people over there.
Well, I wouldn't know. No matter how old I am. I definitely wouldn't know. Eli would know better than me.
And yeah, he's sitting over there being silent.
No comment?
Oh, yeah. I would know.
He's just being the Buddha over there.
Yeah, he is being Buddha. For sure. But anyway.
So, baseball became an Olympic sport in 1992. And like I said, I remember there being a whole thing about it because of the fact that they were like, but baseball's not played all over the world. We should get a sport that's played all over the world.
So is that something that is, we'll get to it in that episode, but is that something that has to be part of the qualifier? Like,
I don't know that it has to be, but
okay.
It helps. But I remember it being a huge thing when they were bringing baseball in.
Right.
Because at that point, it was like North America, Cuba.
Right. Japan.
Some parts of Central America, and Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
Right.
There were no teams in the Philippines. There were no teams.
Despite the fact that in our head, when you think of like Latin players, they come from anywhere that's considered like south of the equator.
And, the Philippines isn't even in the same hemisphere as the Caribbean.
Facts. But even still.
There is one German player in the major leagues right now.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, that's one thing that Olympic play was able to do was diversify baseball.
Right. And open it up to more places.
Bring more places into it because as soon as you say there's a sport that you can medal in, a lot of countries, even if they, there's a reason why there's a Jamaican bobsled team.
True.
Okay?
True.
It doesn't happen often because they don't get a lot of athletes that want to bobsled.
Mm-hmm.
But when they do, they make sure to have a team for them because we could possibly medal.
Exactly. So if
and
there's
if
a possibility.
Else, it puts you on a global setting.
If you medal, whether it's bronze, silver, gold, like, oh my gosh, look at the reputation you just built.
But even if you don't, just being there
in the Olympics,
that sport puts you on an international standing.
True.
So,
bragging rights.
When you think about how many countries in the world play cricket, which basically is every single country that used to be part of the British Empire.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lot.
It is huge in India. It is huge in Scotland and Ireland and, any place.
Where the British colonized.
Right. It's actually probably about on par in Canada. It used to be bigger, but then Major League Baseball put some teams up in Canada.
Right.
And so,
it kind of canceled it out.
They're probably about even par.
Which is interesting. I don't know why. Like, I know there's, obviously British Columbia and stuff, but for some reason Canada didn't seem like one of those places that would have cricket. I don't know. It just doesn't seem very Canadian.
As far as,
but Canada was like the longest lasting British Empire. Like we want nothing to do with you, Britain. And Canada was like, we'll keep you.
That's not why people make fun of Canada. Poor Canada. They catch so much flack.
Other than Quebec, where the French Canadians were like, we don't want you. Go home.
Your face was the best part of that.
Well, you can't do do a disgusted French accent without having the disgusted face.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Eli didn't get to see the face because I wasn't pointed towards him. The French Canadians, they did not want the British.
They did not want the Brits. That's the best part of the show so far. Oh, so priceless. Where is the camera, Dr. Robinson? Please.
So anyways.
Oh, shoot.
You know, every place that the Britons touched, the tiny little island, the Falklands, the tiny little island outside of Brazil that they had wars over.
Yeah.
There are still teams there. I did not know until we started doing this that the USA had an international cricket team.
We do?
We do. We have both a men's and a women's team for international play.
What? I didn't even know. I mean, obviously, it would make sense that we would play cricket in some fashion here, but I didn't know it was big enough to have an international team.
Well, so we have a team. Like, it's not even big enough to, like, play intramurally in college, right?
Right. But yet we play internationally.
But there's an international cricket team for the United States.
I wonder if it was established by a British person who came over.
Well, that's the question, especially when you know the history of it not being in the Olympics.
Yes.
So it does beg a question as to whether or not they are true Americans playing, or if they are expatriates, or if they are children of expatriates.
And that is a good segue into some of the theories we came up with as to why cricket is not part of the Olympics at this point.
Right. So we can go into the history of that.
Yes.
Cricket at the Olympics.
Segues.
So cricket was played at the Olympics once.
Just randomly. One time. Just feel it out. See how it goes.
So it was originally supposed to be included in the inaugural Olympics in 1896. But only one team showed up.
Wait, I didn't catch that part. Where was the other team?
Well, it would be the only team sport, and only Britain fielded a team.
So nobody else was like, here's a team to compete with? Wow.
It literally says here, there were insufficient entries, one team, and so no event was held.
Wow. How? Okay. Either that's really embarrassing for the game of cricket in Britain, like, you can see it from two perspectives. Nobody wants to play cricket, or...
Okay, so also just think 1896, the British Empire was still the British Empire. It had not become the Commonwealth yet.
So it wouldn't be like...
So India was still part of Britain.
So it'd almost be like Britain playing Britain versus like India playing Britain. Okay.
Well, and Indian players would have been British players.
Because they're considered British citizens. So, yeah, it would be like intramural play.
The event was held in the 1900 Summer Olympics in Paris 4 years later. But only 2 countries competed.
That's better than one. At least somebody else showed up.
Great Britain and France.
Okay, that makes sense. Totally makes sense.
But the entire French team, well, I shouldn't say the entire, the majority of the French team was considered what they call a mixed team because most of the members were British expatriates. Like, Dr. Robinson's looking at this like, what the hell? He's like pulling at his shirt. He's like, you know, what? Like, yeah. France fielded a team of Britons.
They were like, we got something for you, British people. Check this out. We're going to use your own people against you. That's like being at war with somebody and being like, we're going to take half of your soldiers and turn them into French soldiers. Like, how much of a slap in the face is that?
Meanwhile, the English team was represented by the Devon and Somerset Wanderers Cricket Club. So it was not a nationally selected team.
It was a very specific.
Yes.
I wonder how they picked that particular club, since they were all over the place.
It was considered that very few people around the world would have been good enough to play first-class cricket.
Okay.
Only the British side had experience had the experience of 8 first-class cricket games on its side.
I'll say this though. I bet another reason why it's so hard to probably make it into a Olympic sport, like when you say that, is because it's a British sport. It was created, well, the form we know of cricket was created by the British. So it's kind of like, it's kind of lopsided. It'd be different for like, it was like soccer where everybody played it all over the place. But I don't know, it just seems like it would be almost an unfair advantage for Britain because they made up all the rules. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you internationally stretch this out when we're the ones who made it up?
I mean, I don't know. So T20 was from Australia.
Okay.
Okay. Australians were like, this is BS sitting here for an entire flipping day in the hot Australian sun.
Facts. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That's like trying to play a game in the middle of the Arizona desert.
Oh, nope. Mm-mm. No,
Okay.
thank you.
They're like saying they're going, a 6-hour game in Arizona? No, thank you.
Oh, my God.
Right?
Wearing all that equipment?
Right. So they came up with the 2020 or the T20. Now, again, not an exact expert, but based on my review of British TV, when T20 expanded out of Australia and out of the different Commonwealth countries and actually made its way into Britain proper, there were people who were against it. Because it wasn't traditional.
I was going to say it was because it broke the rules.
And so...
But I can't imagine players not appreciating a shorter game. Like,
it wasn't the players that had problems. And it wasn't and owners like just jumped into the league and you could get a T20 team for fairly cheap and build it up. It was more just, there are, just as in baseball here, where you have the traditionalists.
I was just about to say
that are hardcore.
And
you
this
have
is how,
that in Britain.
This is how it's played.
And it would be as though we had Major League Baseball, and then we had speed game baseball.
We had speedball.
Right. So, like, that's one of the big things that differentiates a lot of traditionalists from people who want to update the game.
Right.
A lot of the people who want to update the game want to make it faster because they feel that faster play will appeal to more watchers.
Right.
Young people who have shorter spans of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't think that will fully help. And, I have friends who are very adamant about the fact that part of the issue is the fact that they have not found a way to break baseball truly into other... It is played in other countries, but it is not professionally played in other countries.
So you have, like, minor league teams or, like... Oh, no, not even that?
So the other countries that play, they're only playing in order to get those Olympic teams for competition.
Oh, but they don't have, like, an MLB in their country.
No, they're playing, like, high school games. They're playing college games. They're not playing...
So they don't have, like, a professional league.
Nope.
Interesting.
So there's not a German professional league compared to, like, there's a German professional league basketball.
Wow.
Right?
So I wonder what keeps that from...
Or a European League baseball. There's not a European League baseball. There's European League basketball.
Right.
And my friend is like, that's where basketball's got it right. He's like, football's kind of moving in the right direction.
By having
because they have international games.
And they're trying to build international leagues elsewhere.
Right. Or at least they're working with kids towards this. But baseball has an issue because of that.
I feel like baseball in general as a sport is very behind the times in a lot of ways. Like they're so staunch on holding on to some things, and it's like
they
you
are
have
so
to be
extra traditional.
Yeah.
And
even golf is caught up in a lot of ways.
I mean, baseball is truly, the boys' club. And,
yeah.
And they like their club. So,
It is what it is. You get what you get.
Right. So, considering how many places play cricket, you gotta be like, but it's not in the Olympics?
Right.
But baseball is. Again, that's like the biggest thing where you're like, but baseball is.
Right. Which is going to be really interesting when we get into the episode of how a sport becomes an Olympic sport. Like, will we be able to find an answer that we can live with as to why
Right.
cricket has not reached that point?
Right. So, cricket's governing bodies have been unwilling or reluctant to try to return to the Olympics. So, the two biggest governing bodies are the Board of Control for Cricket in India, or the BCCI,
Okay.
and the England and Wales Cricket Board, ECB.
ECB.
Considered the most powerful governing bodies. They're like, yeah, no, we're not setting up an IOC. We're not setting up, an Olympic committee for cricket.
Mm-hmm.
Although it says within the last 10 years, the International Cricket Council, which again is a different governing body,
So many cookies.
the
hands in the cookie
chief
jar.
of the International Cricket Council, who runs the World Cup of cricket, right?
Okay.
Has said he thought the time might be right for us to consider Olympic cricket.
Okay.
It's been the last 10 years, but who knows? Maybe it will come about. Maybe it will happen. It takes a very long time for some things to get into
The Olympics.
So again, if they do reintroduce it, they would have to include a women's event.
Yeah.
The format would have to be, like group play the way that they do for like basketball and baseball, and soccer. And it would more likely be 2020 cricket and not test.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because can you imagine in the Olympics a 5-day game of just one match of cricket?
So the 2020 cricket, or the T20 cricket, is the shortest of the three internationally recognized formats. And it is the form that is included at the Commonwealth Games,
Yeah.
which just happened. And since they are now included in the Commonwealth Games, this could springboard it into, Olympic consideration.
Okay. And really quickly, there is women's cricket.
Mm-hmm.
It's very recent.
There's children's cricket.
In comparison to, because I mean, just like most sports, it started as a male club, a man's thing. That's what men do. They play sports. Women's just kind of sit there and cheer on the side. But there is women's cricket. It is becoming more recognized and more played, even in countries that women are traditionally still in the subservient role. So it does deserve a shout out. There's not a whole lot of history about it because it is so new. I couldn't find a whole lot about it. I know there's an International Women's Cricket Council that helps to manage and develop it and keep it growing, but it's there. Now, I think, and I wonder too, just because of the fact that there's so much logistical work that goes into structuring cricket as if it was an Olympic sport. I wonder if that too kind of keeps them from wanting to enter into it.
I don't know.
Because like you said, they'd have to have a women's league, and then have to have a men's league.
I think
and then,
a lot of it just has to do with the fact that they don't want to put this together and have it fall flat again.
Yeah, it's almost like we got burned once. Did we take the chance of getting burned a second time?
So, like I said, it was a question that definitely occurred to me because I was like, why isn't this played more internationally?
I didn't
Why isn't
realize.
it on more events that we recognize here in the U.S.? And I was talking to Dr. Robinson before we went on the air, before you got here today, and he was like, I don't think anybody really wants to know about, cricket and, these things that don't happen in the U.S. Your listeners probably don't. And I was like, well, our whole show is set up to answer the questions about things that you don't know. So what do we not know more about than international sports?
Right.
And I said, but the one thing that, and I fall into this trap, and I'm certain you fall into this trap, we all fall into this trap in this country,
Yeah.
where if something's not American-centric,
So we don't pay
not
attention to it.
U.S.-centric, we so don't pay attention to it.
Right.
And it happens on every level and every, thing that's out there.
Right.
That we just don't pay a whole lot of attention to things that aren't happening right here. Whereas, you know, in Europe, they're always paying attention to all the other countries in Europe. And now some of it's just because we're oceans away, but we don't even pay attention to Canada.
Facts. And they're right above us. Like, literally, we live in Ohio. They're right there.
They're the other side of the lake.
If you go certain parts of the lake, you can see Canada. But I think that's a good point to make. Like, we are very isolated from a lot of the world and how the rest of the world looks at each other and the way that we look at it. Because I had no idea how big cricket was. Like, until that day we sat there on Netflix and were scrolling through, and there was just, like, tons of Indian movies about cricket. I was like, they play that sport in India? Like, it seems like such a nonsensical thing. But that's because I like to call it Americanized. We're Americanized and isolated from how the rest of the world reacts to each other.
Right. And so we really have to, like,
Open
get
our
ourselves
minds.
out of that sphere of just looking at what's happening here.
Right.
And if sports is a way to start it, then sports is a way to start it.
I've always said sports is a great equalizer. It brings back, it doesn't matter what language you speak, what culture you're from, what you were raised as or under. Like, if you can find that commonality between sports, it crosses all barriers. There's nothing that can keep two people with all the differences in the world from finding that one commonality in sports. So, but that's a perfect way to segue. If you guys know of any other sports that you have maybe even recently learned about that are big everywhere else, and America's like, what's that?
We are open to hear any suggestions that you have. Email us, contact us on Facebook, Instagram,
Twitter, our Gmail, so many ways. But yeah, this is just to scratch the surface. There's a ton of other sports that are played everywhere else that we as Americans just have no connection to. And apparently there's a building connection here in America that, again, I had no idea about. So, but on that note, we love the fact that you guys tuned in to learn about a sport, cricket, which is not anything like baseball in a lot of ways, but does share some similarities. So my ignorance has now been erased. Thanks, Amy.
The more you know.
Do, 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 do. We haven't done that in a while. Thank you for that segue. On behalf of myself,
Amy.
Dr. Robinson.
oh, you guys are quick. This is Gina, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of Wait, What? Sports. I'll let that one slide. See you, humans.